me and you still work very hard, and we're always working on stuff, and we're hustling, I think, in a different way.
Yeah.
Because we're still hustling, but it's not like that.
The hunger hustle. It's Tom.
It's Jake.
You already know.
It's pretty spot on. All right, ready?
We are back for another quick take.
Chicka, chicka, chicka. Quick takes.
We got Eminem in the thing.
You already know, boy. Yeah.
Wow.
I just had a pregnancy announcement video on Instagram, and I just went full Eminem mode, and so you can see that on my Instagram if you want to see it. But that's
Congrats.
why I
awesome.
look this way. Yeah, having twins. So
I wish I could pull off blonde hair.
I can't. So yeah.
There it is.
Yeah. Anyways.
But yeah, I figured today would be cool to kind of dive into our LA story. We both at different times, somewhat around the same time, actually within a year or so, left our home city, put everything in our car, and headed to LA. And yeah, it was a little scary for me, and maybe we collectively kind of like dive into the thought process, what kind of made you tip the scale to want to move to LA. And then once you got into LA, like what was going through your head? And I think we both have stories that maybe could be useful. And look, if you're listening to this and maybe you're thinking, oh, I want to move to Atlanta, I want to move to New York, or like a hub of production, this story can be applicable to anybody.
I think just right out the gate, without getting into our stories, like how crazy is it that how like different our lives would be had you not moved to LA or I'd not moved to LA.
Yeah.
And like us meeting each other, but like all the, fruitful things that came out of our move there, meeting each other, and then what we've built together. And I think on anything, on going outside of your comfort zone and getting uncomfortable is where like growth and progress happens. Like had I just stayed in Arizona my whole life, like bro, I wouldn't have done all the things I've done creatively and within my career. I just would have been doing like small little local things that met local people, like just operating kind of in this like small little bubble that
100%.
Never really expanded outward. And so, yeah, really getting out of the comfort zone because it was uncomfortable. I'd never lived away from home. Like I was always close to home. Even when I went to college, my college was 2 to 5 minutes away from my parents' house where I grew up. Like, so it's like, that's all I knew. And then to go to a different state by myself to like pursue a career that like there's no guarantee. It's not like you get hired for a job and you have that job. Like, cool, I'm on salary now, this and that. Like filmmaking is so like just, if you figure it out, you make it, you don't. Like it's so spotty like with the work and everything. So
what was the actual moment where, was it something that you were even as a kid like, yep, I'm gonna move to LA and make movies, or was it like somewhere kind of like mid to like during college, after college, where like the little seed got planted?
No, because I wanted to go to like film school in LA or California because I just knew that's more where the hub was at, and maybe they had better film schools because Arizona is not like a hub for filmmaking, and there's no like amazing film schools there. And even the one I went to, I mean, I've talked about it on a podcast before how terrible my film school experience was. So I had always thought like, oh, maybe I'm going to go to film school, but I couldn't afford it, and I wasn't going to take out like $100,000 loan, and my parents were like, no, we're not paying for that. And so it's just I stayed and went to school in Arizona, but
for sure
it worked out for me. But ultimately I always knew like, if this is what I'm going to do filmmaking wise, like I gotta get there and do something there, and then one day my goal was to always live in Arizona, but like I knew I had to do something first to allow myself to like live in Arizona. Do you get what I'm saying? So.
Yeah, for me, it was like, I like to call it a North Star goal. Like I graduated high school, I guess this will date me, but 2010, I graduated, and I knew right around that time that I wanted to go to LA or New York. I didn't know where quite exactly. I thought LA would be cool because I lived in California, the Bay Area, so it's like in the same state. And I didn't have like the grades or SATs to like apply directly right out of high school to like go to USC or UCLA. So I was like, you know what? I'm going to stick around, the Bay Area. I already had a job at like a TV studio. Like I literally got an internship at high school. So I was literally like, I was filming like the local TV. So when like, my hometown had like a parade, like they'd send me as a unit, like they would literally play on like, it was called TV 30. So like local networks, you know what I mean? For just like what's going on in the town. So I literally did that right out of high school in 2010. And I knew I didn't want to be like filming parades for the rest of my life. So I was like, you know what?
Exactly.
And I had I guess what I'm circling back to is I had a North Star goal. I was like, I want to go to LA. I don't quite have the grades to get in right now. So I'm going to go to a local community college where it's like $30 a credit versus like $1,000 a credit at like a 4-year university. And and just kind of acclimate and like figure out what I want to do. Cause I've actually talked to people who've gone to like UCLA, USC, Tisch, New York, right out of high school. And the first 2 or 3 years at these really expensive universities, they're still figuring out who they are, what they want to do. So I was like, I want to figure out what I want to do.
That's the
when
thing.
It's lower cost, lower stakes.
I love that, because that's the thing is when you think when you're younger, college, it's like, oh, you're older and like, oh, college kid, like that feels old. But like in the grand scheme of things, bro, 18 to 21, 22 is like a normal like college age.
Yeah.
You're still a kid, bro. And think if you've taken out a loan at $100,000 or 200, whatever the school is that costs, and you're 19 years old and you're still trying to figure stuff out. And like to just know, like you don't really know who you are yet. And even just my experience as a filmmaker now at what am I, 32 years old, like I've grown so much. And to think like, even if I would have gone to, like a film school later on in life, like, I don't know. I just feel like I like what you said. I don't know exactly what I'm trying to say here, but just the idea of like, while trying to figure out what it is you want to do, who you are, where you want to go without just immediately burning.
Because like community college, if I was like, this isn't for me, or I just want to pivot, I'm only spending, like I said, like I think $30 a unit. So like to do a whole class, I think it was like $120 to register first semester, like dirt cheap.
That's crazy.
So I could meet people, network, and kind of get my reps in as a filmmaker. And funny enough, I went into like my community college thinking like, oh yeah, I want to be a director. Everyone and their mom thinks they're gonna be a director. And then in taking courses or like little classes at my community college, which had like a decent film program, nothing by any other standards of like UCLA, but I like quickly realized like, wait, I don't want to be a director. Because I think I've shared this story, but I was like literally doing like my little capstone project for my junior college. And I was literally doing everything, right? Producing, directing, editing. And the actor is super nice. I found him on like SF casting because I was in the Bay Area. And he pulled me aside. He's like, hey, look, I can tell you're really into the cinematography stuff because you're not giving me any notes and you're like spending 20 minutes dialing in this light. Like, do you, like, I'm here for you. But in the future, you should consider just doing the camera thing. I was like, oh, like there's a job that just does cameras. And like, that's when like I was able to have that light bulb moment when it was pretty low stakes. But I guess to fast forward the LA story, I ended up kind of doing that for 2-3 years. And in 2012, I threw everything in my car and just drove down to LA. My parents were nice. They kind of drove down behind in like a U-Haul with some stuff. And I basically just found an apartment on a whim. And that's the crazy thing is too, I didn't know any neighborhoods. I didn't know like Echo Park versus Culver City. Like I didn't know, I've never been to LA other than driving through LA to like go to Disneyland as a kid. So I had like no context of like, is this a safe neighborhood? Is this near? I mean, LA is a sprawl. It is so big, 10 million people. Like, how did you even like land on like where you wanted to even stay?
Yeah. Man, first off, 2012, when you moved down, it's crazy. That's the year I graduated. So I think like
college, right?
Graduated college. Yeah. So I think I had about a year after that trying to put like funds together, figure out where I was going to live. Cause you don't just graduate and then immediately put your stuff in a van or truck and move. So it's like for that year, I was trying to figure out, okay, where am I going to live? What kind of spot? How much do I need to save up? Where am I going? Like, just, kind of created that little, buffer or whatever, and then moved in 2013. And that's the year that I met you, literally like, I don't even know, a month or two later after moving in.
No, for sure.
Which we've told that story many times before. But I just knew I wanted to be somewhere in close to, I'm not a big like city guy, but I knew like I wanted to be somewhat near kind of like downtown LA, like a hub. I didn't want to be like on a beach town or whatever, even though that's where I would prefer to live.
Sure.
That's not why I was moving to California.
Of
like
course.
I don't like the city, but I just knew I had to do that. And so I ended up finding like a creative work, live kind of loft space because I wanted a space that like spoke to my like artful nature of being a creative, but like gave me space to like do photo shoots or do a video shoot and maybe rent it out. And I actually got it because I was like, it was way more than I could really afford. I could afford it, but it was like pushing the limits, right? Yeah. But I got it thinking like, oh, I'll rent it out for photo and video shoots and I'll use it myself, but I'll also like live here. And very cool spot. I mean,
some of my favorite things you shot there, I love those like Samson, like with the cables all on the, and he would just record. And it's like, I love that you were even just using it as like a flex space, you know, like, multiple uses.
And so I had put the spot, Pure Space just came out.
Really?
I think Pure Space came out in like 2012 or 2013.
That's wild.
One of those years. So literally like put the spot on Peerspace, never got booked because I don't think people just knew what Peerspace was yet. But that just also goes to show you how long it takes a business to like really get up and running. Because I would say now Peerspace is like the goat
they're
of
like
that
the
space.
Uber of that.
And they're growing more. Like when we even put our first locations on there was locations, but not like it even is today, just
where there's like
a couple years later.
Yeah.
There's like, now there's like people are building locations and sets, whereas before it was more like, oh, here's empty warehouse, here's my living room, here's my house, here's whatever. And so it's like now people, it's like, it's crazy what it's turned into. But anyways, yeah, I moved to that loft and tried to like
night
do
one,
my thing.
boxes unpacked. Whoever helped you is on their way back to Arizona. What's like going through your head? Because I think that's worth mentioning, that it's not like, cool, moved to LA, my life was great. It definitely is.
I wanted to cry. I'm not like a super emotional person, nor do I like ever cry. It's like it takes a lot for me to get there.
Yeah.
And I just remembered thinking like, as soon as my parents helped me move in.
Yeah, it's a lot to move.
They left. And I'm sitting there by myself, never lived away from home, never been by myself. Even when I was at college and at like the dorm, I stayed in this apartment. There was 3 roommates, like, just always around people. And I'm a very homebody. I never liked to stay the night away, even at friends' house. I would always call my mom at like 11 at night. Mom, come get me. Like, I just couldn't make it through a night. And I was literally sitting there on the couch,
dude, what
upstairs
did I
in my
do?
loft. And I was literally just sitting there and I was just like, dude, this is a mistake. This is just not, just in terms of like, I just felt
like
so
out of your depth.
Yeah, out of like alone and scared. Like, what if this doesn't work? Like, bro, like I don't know. I was just very, very scared and nervous.
What helped me is like
sad.
meeting people right off the rip. And I was going to, like I said, a community college up in the Bay Area for a couple of years. When I first moved down to LA, I was like, you know what? I'd love to go and at least give it a shot, apply to Chapman, USC, UCLA. Those are the big schools down there. And I was like, you know what? I can't just apply right off the jump. I still want to knock off a few prerequisites. So that way, when I go there, I can just focus on what I want to do and not have to take like Spanish or something like that. So I moved down there and went to LA City College for 2 semesters. And that's where I met like John Luke, Terrell, Audrey. I don't know if you remember like that crowd of people, and like meeting those people, like those just became my friends down there. And like, I don't know, having like a friend group. And I know like certain artists you were working with became, I think friends, Samson, I don't know if they were there yet.
No, that definitely helped, having a couple people there, like
otherwise
Kyle.
It gets mad lonely.
Kyle, Samson, Sam King. But I knew they were more of like artists that I was working with, like clients that also I was like friendly with, like I was cool with, but it's not like I had like some long standing friendship with these people. So it's, yes, they were friends, but they were also just, people I was doing work with and for and whatnot. So it was a little bit different, but that did help, right? Like I didn't just move to LA not knowing a soul. Like I knew people in LA because I was already making videos and my stuff was like blowing up on YouTube and whatnot. So it wasn't like I was an absolute nobody moving to a city not knowing nobody, like, and just being like, dude, what? Like,
I know.
And it was still scary. Even though I had a buzz going, I knew some people, I knew I was going to be doing some videos and like I had people like, yo, hit me when you're in LA, let's work. Like it was still scary for sure. So I don't know for you if it was like super scary.
100%.
Or like,
and then also too, just like moving down with like pretty limited finances. Like I had saved for what I kind of planned, like knowing my rent. I was like, all right, cool. I need to like move down at least with like 3-4 months of rent, just like in my savings.
Right.
But like when you're going to school, you can't really work that much. So I found myself, funny enough, driving back to the Bay Area because most of my contacts, when you live in the Bay Area, a lot of the work that's up there is like corporate. You have Silicon Valley. So a lot of times it's like, hey, $1,000, come film the CEO on a green screen. It's going to be on our website. And like that was my bread and butter. I just literally did that while going to City College up in the Bay Area. So a lot of like for the first 6 months, like a lot of my friends I was meeting at like my City College, and they're like, where are you going every weekend? I would just drive up honestly pretty frequently in my little like 2002 Volvo and just like go make a couple grand over the weekend, then come back and like be good for that was like how I literally made my first money. Because it's like,
do you remember what was your rent at was it an apartment?
It was literally like a bachelor apartment, which means that like the living room and kitchen are one thing, and then
like a studio. Yeah.
And it was $1,200 and Los Feliz. Los Feliz. What's funny is I actually had a buddy move there recently, and he's
about $3,400.
Oh, I mean, just for that studio, I think it's like 26 now.
Yeah, that's crazy.
And that's literally just in like 10 years.
Dude, I don't even know how I look back, and I think I've told you before, like I don't even know how I afforded my initial that work live loft.
What was that?
$2,400 a month. I mean, my mortgage on my house right now is $2,800.
Yeah,
and it's like,
that's wild.
not that that's hard, but like moving to a new place to just like, I took a big risk, you know what I mean? Like $2,400 is not cheap, but I think I just,
well, if anything, it probably lit a fire. Like, you know what? I can't just sit around. I got to fucking work
100%. Like, we've talked about that where there's certain things, being uncomfortable causes you to progress and grow. Like, if you're comfortable, you're not going to do stuff that you wouldn't otherwise do. So me knowing like, yo, I got to make rent, I got to do this, like I'm taking this video, I'm linking up with this person, I'm doing that. Like, it forces you to do stuff and hustle. But if you're comfortable and you're just like sitting back like, yo, I'm good, I'm chilling, like you got to take risks and do stuff. Even like right now, me and Chanel have a bunch of money saved up and we've just kind of been sitting on it. Granted, we're working on it, but like we're working on this new studio 100%. And doing a bunch of stuff, but they're still like, yo, we got to do something with this money. Like, and it's just doing something that's uncomfortable and, you know, it could lead to something really, really good and great. And, you know, taking that risk and that challenge rather than just like, especially because we're talking about with inflation, like money, your dollar's losing value every day. So like, rather than just like our money losing value, just sitting in the bank, cool, let's do something with it. But it's still scary what we're trying to do right now as well. Like getting another property, especially in today, you know, the climate interest right now, like what happens if there's a recession and the interest rates are through the roof. So it's like, there's never like a perfect timing for anything, but what would you say? Well,
and this is a hypothetical. Feel free to ask the same question. What would you think if there was a variant of Jakob Owens who didn't move, you know, like a Marvel low-key kind of thing. There's a variant of you that did not move to Los Angeles, California and just stayed. What would that variant of Jakob Owens be doing now? Like speculation, obviously. Like, I mean, I think he'd probably still be doing like videos.
I think I'd still be doing like local videos, like a lot of just like little corporate stuff, still low budget.
Like making
music.
like a video production, like filming things for like coffee shops and stuff.
Probably, and low budget music videos, and hopefully maybe like some bigger corporate stuff, but there's just not that type of industry here, like to do anything on a huge scale. And the companies that already do, like for like these talking stick resorts, like they're already locked into this company that's there. So it's like hard to break into that. So I'd probably just be doing super local stuff and like maybe doing like personal training on the side or something like that. That'd for people. Like
I think the variant of me would unfortunately be stuck in this corporate world, which funny enough, I have friends who never left the Bay Area who are actually doing quite well, but God, it was so fatiguing because I did not care about their white papers and they're explaining the analytical power of this sort of software that I don't understand. And I'm just like literally looking at the little card reader just drain. I'm like, when is he going to wrap this up? And like, they paid really well. I will say, like, even day rates up there are crazy, bro.
Right.
I try to market myself as like, I got everything. I came with my 7D. I had the lens. I had the audio boom pole C-stand thing. And I would sometimes walk away with like $2,000 for, and dude, the CEOs that I'd interview, they don't have a lot of time. They're like, yo, it's 30 minutes. It's like, oh, okay. You know, like super quick, but dude, it's just not very fulfilling.
When you're that young too, like to do that,
that's
like,
a lot.
Yeah.
When I wasn't doing that, I would literally go to like concerts in San Francisco, film the DJ set, and then I would like DM them like, hey, here's this footage that I just edited from your set. Would you want to like, if you give me $500, I'll literally send you the download link. And I would just do that to DJs and like, but that would take me, I'd have to drive out there, shoot till 2 a.m, come home, download, edit it. And sometimes I'd be like, oh, I'm good, no worries. Like I would just do it on a whim. But like, that was like a little like side hustle.
You've never told me that. That's kind of,
but that was like a lot of work for 500 where sometimes these little like corporate things, though not very fulfilling.
I mean, talking about the 500 stuff, bro, I was doing those music videos for like $200, $300. I remember when I got my first $500 music video, it was, I forget his name, but it was this really dope, soulful, big black dude. And he was like spoken word rap. And we drove out into nature to like shoot this video. But like, he hit me up and he was like, yo, like, what do you charge for music videos? And I was just like, at the time, literally doing $200-$300 videos. And I kind of like looked at his like following. I was like, oh, he has a slightly bigger following. Like, and I was just like threw out a number hoping. And I was just like, oh, like, yeah, I do music videos for $500. And he's like, cool, done. When can you shoot? And I was just like, bro, I'm going to get $500
I
to
know.
shoot this video. And so
you think about, I mean, I'll literally be honest, my first job, I think I made $8.25 like doing oil changes. And you think about it, right? Doing 3 hours of work, I would make $27. So like,
That's
for,
crazy.
to like think about that, I was like, dang, like, 500, even today's standard, like 500 is like good, a little chunk of change.
Yeah,
So like to make
right.
that as like a kid who's hungry. But yeah, I mean, those are the little, I kind of, not that I've lost my hustle. Like I still am always eager. I'm always learning stuff, watching tutorials, taking little like
Right.
Skillshare courses. But like there is something about those like hustle days that is like kind of like that hustle, gotta hunt, gotta make it.
Yeah, because it's weird. We're not, me and you still work very hard, and we're always working on stuff, and we're hustling, I think, in a different way.
Yeah.
Because we're still hustling, but it's not like that.
The hunger hustle.
The hunger hustle. Yeah. There's like a difference between the hustle and the hunger hustle.
Well, because I just don't want to be like, oh, well, they've arrived. They don't care anymore. Like, dude, our jobs, like Prism and Tropic, they literally are a full-time thing. I'm doing these things 10, 12 hours a day. So like, It's not like I'm just like, yeah, collecting a check. I still want people to think that. But the hunger hustle, I like that term. I'll have to catchphrase that, is the not knowing when your next gig is and trying to make that shit happen.
Right.
And if that's like cold DMing somebody, going to a DJ set, editing the footage and trying to sell it to them, like those little innovative things, like just to make a quick buck. Like, I mean, I think those are where like you kind of sink or swim. You know what I mean?
Did you do that? Like, how did you even, I mean, you kind of did it with me in a way, in a hunger hustle way. Like you were just like, yo, I got this red camera. Like I remember you telling me like any music videos you got, like I want to shoot them. It doesn't matter if you have a budget or not, like hit me up. And
were you just like, who is this kid?
Yeah.
Or you're probably, all right,
no,
cool.
I was like, cool. Like, so, but like, had you not done that and you've been like some snobby, like, yeah, like this is my day rate, like hit me up, and didn't show that hunger or tried to hustle or even say that like, yo, it doesn't matter budget or not, that showed that and that drive and that initiative.
You know what's so
and
funny?
So
I will say this with the Scouts honor. I never like in our kind of come up ask like, yo, what's the rate on this little video we're gonna go? It'd be so funny.
It'd be a surprise.
I'd be packing up my red, like taking off the EF, and I like see you kind of pull your checkbook. I'm like, oh, I wonder what it's gonna be today. And you're like, hey, maybe it'll be like 350. I'm like, cool. Or like sometimes it'd be lower. I'm like, oh, okay. Or sometimes I'm like, oh, nice, 600. You know, like it was just a total dice roll.
Dude, that's so funny because that's so true. Like we never talked about rates ever.
I
would
just
surprise you with a check.
Because I've known from past experiences how bringing up money can sometimes like really not complicate. And like, look, I know obviously you want to have like transparency, but when I was just in full grind mode, I didn't want to like add barriers to create. And I was like, you know what, if he starts to think I cost this, then he might just, I know he has a camera, he'll just go do his own thing. Right. So I was like trying to make it as frictionless as possible for us to work. Right. You know what I mean? Because if you start adding like, oh, I'm going to send you a deal memo. I remember there's a Steadicam op. I think Cooper, when he was starting out. Right. I mean, I understand why now, but he was just like, when I went to go hit him up, he's like, here's my deal memo. I need a certificate of insurance. It's like, yo, like, I think I'm going to go with this other guy because I literally don't have those things at this current caliber. And if I was with you, I'm like, oh, I need this, and that. You'd be like, yeah, I'm just going to do this on my FS 700. And I didn't want that to happen. I wanted you to like, because
I had a FS 700, a little like Steadicam setup that was like advanced glide cam with the vest and arm and everything. But yeah, you came in with like the red Scarlet, and I was like, oh yeah, I want the red look and everything. And
I wish
and
I
then
still
it was,
had that brain.
I didn't want to be a DP too. Like I can shoot things very well, and I am a DP in a way, and I've DP'd lots of things, but my bread and butter and what I wanted to be was a director. So to like pay someone to come in, shoot it, and make it look crispy for me while I can focus on directing and making the video how I want it to look and be, it was like, yeah, it was a win. But yeah, it was never like, ever did we discuss beforehand like, yo, this is what I got, or you never asked. It was just, always a surprise.
Anyone who's
That's so
listening
funny. That's
right
so
now
funny.
or watching, go on YouTube and type in Graydon Squared Summer's Ending. I think is what it's called. You were at my house the other day and we were watching it with my fiance, and we just kind of went down like a rabbit hole of like, yo, bro, cue that one up. That was probably the second or third video we did. We literally ran all over LA, and honestly, there's some shots in there. Like, dude,
a good video
cool.
for what it is. No budget.
Literally none.
Me and you.
I don't even think we had a bounce card.
No.
And
literally.
Funny story about that. I mean, obviously, I was like,
one more time. Graydon Square, Summer's Ending. Keep going.
Yeah, we literally shot this around your apartment. I remember that because I only could afford at the time of like, I mean, my Scarlet, I literally spent $18K on it. So like I kitted it out, V-mount, this, that. I could only at the time, because we were like $1,000, had two 64 gigabyte SSD cards for the red. And that like gave you only like 15 minutes of filming. So like there'd be times where like I literally would have to sprint down to your loft with your keys, set one to download, wait for it to download while you're shooting the other card. I'd get back and you're like, I filled another card. And like that, I remember like leaving that day with like, if I had a step counter, it probably would have been miles, bro. But I remember driving home like, yo, I feel really good about that.
But we watched that the other day and we were like, dude, these shots are kind of fire,
dude,
dog.
I think I told you this. It's super funny. I was skipping so much class to come up to LA to work with you. This is fast forward. I was already actually going to Chapman when we met. So, but I had skipped the class where it was like a visual storytelling class where you had to like go do an assignment.
Hold on, let me guess. You like your teacher was pissed and then you like showed him this video and was like, this
not
is what,
even that. No? I had all the red cards. I had backed it up on a drive, not even maliciously, just as like a second backup.
Right.
I remember getting home. I was like, fuck, I got to do this visual storytelling assignment.
Oh, and you used it?
I just laid all the footage in and just added a score and not made it a music video. I just made it about like, cause the storyline in the music video is a homeless guy like trying to like make money.
Right.
And my teacher's like, yo, what is this? This is so sick. Like, and I just used it. I mean, it was internal. It never lived anywhere other than the class. But my other like classmates who like hadn't seen me a lot.
You double dipped.
They're like, yo, what is this project? I'm like, oh yeah, I just like found this homeless guy. But it was a music video that I just repurposed like a narrative project.
Yeah, you totally double dipped, bro. You never told me that. That's funny. Yeah, I did that with like my senior thesis.
Just took like the raw footage.
No, I just like it was like you could either make a short film and spend all your money making a short film for your capstone, or you could like turn it or make a music video. And I was like, I'm already making music videos.
Yeah, and
I'm gonna just turn in these music videos that I like made for my capstone, but no, it's 100%. Like I'm being paid by this artist to do. So I totally double dipped for my literally senior capstone film school project. I turned in SK4MC highlights, David or DY New York Times.
Dude, the New York Times one,
unreal.
There's one edit in there where it's like pop, 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 pop at the end where it goes like to black frames. It's like, dude, I'm kind of ahead of your time a little bit.
I feel like, yo, if for anyone that has not seen DY New York Times, I did this video solo by myself on a 5D running around New York City with David Morris DY for like 3 days. And like we did this whole thing. We had no lights, camera, gear, team, nothing. It was just us running around with the DSLR and like a couple of his friends in New York. And like there's moments like I watched that the other day with you because we were just talking about old videos.
Yeah.
And the whole thing I was like that, but even that scene I was just like, bro, I was kind of like,
she was on like
wavy.
some terminal list where it's just like all the crazy angles.
I was
dude,
super
what's the
proud
one
of
where
that.
the money's just like falling on the camera?
Yeah, that's the follow-up video.
That one was cool too.
That was DY Flattery.
The 240 frame rate on that camera is pretty wavy.
Yeah, I used that one for the Kyle Fruit Snacks video.
I think you also did that. It was Radical something like Bottle Rocket or Firework. I remember you just did like super slow-mo.
And that's how we met, through Radical something. Yeah. So I had done that video for them and like one other thing.
What was it called again? Bottle Rocket? It was something like that, right? They were on like a rooftop. I just remember seeing the slow-mo. I'm like, yo, that's sick. Because my Scarlett shot 4K, looked beautiful, but it could only do 4K 24. And then if you wanted to even go to like 48 or 60, you'd have bumped down to 2K, which also like punched in. So like your 24 mil is now like an 85 mil.
And I think that FS700 was doing like
1080.
No, well, it would do 4K.
Oh no way!
But it just the 240. It was 240 frames per second, 480 and 960.
Damn.
But the 960 was 720, and it was like
it was too slow.
It was too slow, but it was like when you actually saw the footage, it was kind of cheeks. It was just like super. It was not sharp. It was kind of not pixelated, but it was just
no. I think
the one,
great. Even 120 just looks so good.
But no, the 240 was like the bread and butter on that thing. Doing 240.
Did you ever do Canon 70 or 5D Twixtor?
So
the Twixtor
hype was huge. It was I could never figure it out.
Oh, dude, there was a music video I saw where this guy was like exhaling like a joint or a cigarette.
It was just,
and you just saw it like flickering. And I was like, wow, how did they do that? And you can just dude. When I figured out Twixtor, because I was kind of my After Effects hype a little bit, dude, it unlocked a whole new.
Are there things you look back on and you're like, bro, how did I do that or figure that out back then?
So I'm gonna show you. I wish I could cue it up here, but you don't have internet.
Yeah.
One of the little like concert videos I sold the artist, I literally followed an Andrew Kramer video co-pilot like After Effects tutorial where I zoomed in through the earth and it went into the club. And dude, when he saw that, he's like, yo, what the heck? Like, you just made this?
Yeah, there's like certain things like that. Like I look back and I'm like, bro, how how did I do that?
Well, that's like that
then?
bag of tricks we've sometimes talked about. Is like everyone kind of has that little bag that kind of makes them, and I think for a lot of times, like your editing was like your big bag of tricks because you could turn footage shot in any format, any camera into something that was like pop, pop, pop.
That was my thing. Editing was like my sweet. I mean, I was good at a lot of things, but I just, my editing speed, the style, like that's how I got, I think, really popular on YouTube. Was not only like I was making cool videos, but the color was really like unique, and like people were like, bro, how are you coloring this? But a lot of my like effects and editing style was just like super eye candy and visual for like that time, like that little DSLR era.
Out of your whole discography, was like, you know what? I literally snapped on that one. I think when I first realized, I was like, dang, he's pretty nice with this, is the really, really, because there's moments where Kyle's like on one foot and the footage is like zooming in and bubbling, and like it's like changing between like red and blue frame, and like I was like, this is crazy.
Yeah, really, really, it was good because I used like that trick where it's like you do the slow, like you shoot in like,
I remember when you threw the money, it was like
you shoot at 48 frames a second. And then you also have them like perform the song slowed down, so that when you're recording, then you speed it up and it's like sped up. But then because you're also shooting slow mo, then you can all of a sudden slow it down. And it's then slow, and then he's like moving fast. Like so, like knowing how to shoot certain things too can help you in the edit. And I kind of went crazy on really. But that was more of a simplistic edit, like just quick chops, cool slows on the beat.
Which
one
would you say, looking at your whole discography? Yeah, that one I snapped.
Man, I don't know. I'd have to go. There's so many videos I've done. It's just like, it's hard to just recant stuff. And like, there's little things that you even mentioned where it's like, oh yeah, I did that or whatever. Like, even us talking about old videos, like, dude, I forgot about that.
Yeah,
story.
I used to be super into stop motion. That was my tweak.
Right. Yeah, I mean, that's your like first little short film.
Because like
thing,
stop motion, it was like a hack, right? So I had a Hi8 camcorder, and I kind of quickly realized like this doesn't look that great. Like when you bring it in, I think it's like 480p. Right. And my dad, he was super into photography growing up, and he had like a pretty decent like digital Canon something another. And I noticed the Canon looks so sharp, and I was like, you know what? If I just take pictures, now I have like a 2000 by 2000 picture versus this like 480 footage from my transcoded.
That's so interesting.
So I was like, if I can just do stop motion stuff, my stuff will look really, really sharp. So I just used that stills camera a bunch, did little Lego claymation. I did like my brother would snap the photo, and it would like, I just realized like made my footage look way sharper because that's what I had at the time.
That's a good point. That's a good point.
You know what I mean?
I like that. Yeah, you showed me that video. It's kind of crazy. We'll have to do a video where we roast each other's like old first videos. Oh, you know what? Speaking of edit, I might just have to go with DY New York Times on the editing tip. Like there's a lot of interesting stuff. I did slow shutter back then too. So I would like slow shutter and then it would like speed up. And I did this thing. There's a moment in the beat where it's like, do. And it's like this, not a hi-hat, but almost like a drum, like the sticks hitting the rim of the thing. And it would like, it would be sped up footage and then freeze frame on that hit. And then it'd be sped up footage and freeze frame on that hit. And then I'd do flash, and I did boom, boom. And like you said, the flash cut drum, like, I don't know. I did a lot of like really cool stuff in that. It's less of like, it's more of like a really cool narrative edit than like flashy effects.
No,
and
for sure.
Stuff. But I did lots of videos like that too, like flashy edits and whatnot. But yeah, I don't know. That one's like, cause that was 2012. That was before.
Isn't that crazy? It's 10 years ago.
Before I moved. It might have been 2012. That's right before I moved to LA.
But what are we going to be doing 10 years from now? What if this is a time capsule? Like, bro, remember when we made the podcast?
It's like, crazy. That almost like all the stuff we're talking about just almost feels like another lifetime ago. And it's really only 10 years.
Which is actually like a decade.
Which is a long time. I mean, that's a third of our lives, but it's like still like in the grand scheme of things, when you think of like 10 years, that doesn't seem like a huge amount of time. But when you kind of look at it, it's like the amount of progression that one can make in 10 years is insane.
And I think to circle it all back to the LA story, like, I think LA is where we really planted our seeds as filmmakers and creators. And then we were really able to grow to our fullest potential versus like growing in a greenhouse in a small little city where you can only grow so high.
Right.
Like we moved to LA where we had so many opportunities, so much crew. We were instantly getting to be able to use Steadicam, use these studios. Like there was these things that we just instantly had access to, where my little small town, the biggest thing we had was a movie theater. There was no film rental houses where you could rent C-stands. And you remember the first time we went to like Wooden Nickel, which is like a rental house? I was like, holy crap, you could just like rent these lights. Like I was in the school, thought I had to buy all these lights. Remember you had your Kino? I had like an Arri 650. I don't know if you remember that.
Yeah.
Like it didn't occur to me that you could like rent equipment. I always thought I had to, you know what I mean? So like it's all those things that occurred to us when moving to LA. So yeah, if you're on the fence, you're listening to this, you're just looking for that inspiration to move. Honestly, you don't want to spend your whole life wondering, what would it have been like?
Yeah.
I had a professor in high school, my media teacher, and he was in his 30s or 40s, really cool dude, super inspirational, but he like never went to LA. He was just like, dang, like, I really want you to go down there. Like, I just never gave it a shot. And like, I could tell it like haunted him, you know what I mean?
Right.
And like, I knew I wanted to at least give LA a shot. And if it didn't work, at least I had a home to come back to and some gigs that I could jump back into.
Yeah,
but
you only have one life to live. So if there's something you really want to do or it's on your mind, give it a shot. You know,
you don't know until you try.
You don't know until you try, and you learn from failure. So, you know, if I would have never gone to LA, bro, I feel like it would eat at me. And I definitely, we wouldn't be sitting here right now. Like, period.
I mean, what other project would I have met you on?
No,
I'm even thinking if I didn't even link with you on the Radical video, I wasn't really on YouTube that much. Like, I didn't know like of your journey so far, or knew about that buzz. So it's like, I don't even know if we would have like, so I was actually going to like Chapman. So like, I maybe would have just gotten more into those, you know what I mean? Like, it's kind of just crazy, bro.
Yeah. Anyways, so yeah, hopefully you guys enjoyed kind of that quick take on our moves to LA and that journey. Like, comment, subscribe, all that good stuff. Go, please leave us a rating on the, you know, Apple Podcast app, Spotify, whatever. Share with a friend, tell a friend.
Just the algorithm, the way it works, it just kind of allows us to get this in front of more people. And our goal as we expand this is to get more guests. And if this thing just has traction, that's just going to make that a lot easier.
100%. 100%.
Well, yeah, thank you. It's been a quick take. I'm Tom.
And I'm Jake.
Sheesh.